Hello, listeners. Another very quick WhatsApp message from me. If you're listening to this on the day that this episode has been released, then there are exactly 2 weeks left for you to hop on board the Posh Outdoors train. The WeFunder round closes on April the 30th at 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm recording this a week before the episode comes out. So as of right now, the WeFunder part is currently standing at $534,000. I imagine it will be higher by the time you're listening to this. If you want to learn more about Posh Outdoors, the link to the WeFunder page will be in the description, and there'll also be a link to schedule a call with me, as well as my email address to email any questions. So only 2 weeks to go. Been a long ride, as you all know. We're almost there. The units should actually be at Skyridge Glamping as you listen to this. They were due to be delivered yesterday. So check out my LinkedIn if you have it for some pictures of that. And yeah, thank you again. Head to the WeFunder page and we'll speak soon. Bye-bye. Oh, and one more message from me. Apologies, my audio quality isn't great this week. I begin to think it may be an issue with the laptop rather than the microphone because we've gone through a few. So you may just have to bear with us for a little bit on that, but we'll do what we can in the meantime. So sorry about that, but it should be fine to listen to. Thank you.
Welcome back to another episode of the Unique Hospitality Podcast. I'm Connor Schwab, joined by Nick Burslow.
Thank you, Connor.
Breaking news, after 3 years of business partnership and friendship between Nick, he just informed me that I've been saying his last name wrong this entire time. So it's not Purslow, as I've been saying, but it's Purslow. I get that?
Yes. I think it's an American thing. I think you guys tend to just, I don't know why you guys say it like that, but you do. But I don't mind too much, but my dad messaged me earlier today saying you need to correct him. So we've sorted that out, thankfully.
So yeah, apologies, Nick, for saying that wrong for 3 years to our audience. But now we can move forward from that in the proper fashion. Well, we're back for another joint episode, and today we're going to be kind of taking it a little bit adjacent to the direct unique stay glamping world. And we're going to have one interesting guest on today. His name's Nathan, and he runs an investment firm that owns hostels in Hawaii in particular. And he's had a long career in commercial real estate and different investments in multifamily, and has more recently moved into the hospitality side, occupying the hostel niche. And he's done several podcasts online to kind of share in different lessons and newsletters from his work and investments. And so we're excited to dive into an adjacent niche and see what lessons we can learn from Nathan and the hostel space.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to get on slightly different kinds of guests every so often. And a big thing about Howzit Hostels, when we were doing our research for this episode, was that they're obsessed with hospitality and providing the best guest experience. And obviously that is common across our space as well. So we are going to dive into that and maybe get an insight into how they do that and how it might differ from our space, but also what we can learn from their space as well. We've done a couple episodes on hotels as well. I remember it was just me, but House of Gods, the Scottish hotel, and that was really good as well to get some different insights from different industries too. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Nathan and seeing what he's got to say.
And for anyone who's listening who isn't familiar with what a hostel is, it's a hospitality asset class that's really focused on international travelers. And what's unique about it and what they're most known for is having rooms that take a large volume of guests who may not know each other. So they'll typically have bunk rooms that sleep 4, 8, 12, like up to 20 people in a room full of bunks. And they're meant to be super cheap. So if you're a backpacker from Europe coming to the United States, you can spend $60 to have a bunk in a shared room instead of, $250 for a room in a hotel. They often will have some rooms with like queen and king beds as well, but the majority and what they're most known for is like shared living accommodation that's very economical, and there's usually a much bigger community focus to it.
Yeah, and certainly, I've spent some time in like party hostels, which are good fun.
Same.
I've got some stories that can't be shared on mic.
Yes.
But yeah, like what I do like about hostels is that they are very good at allowing you to kind of meet your fellow guests if you want, and particularly ones that are marketed towards maybe younger people. You might have WhatsApp or some kind of group chat set up where you can arrange nights out or meetings in the lobby or the common area or whatever it may be. So again, that's something that might not usually be seen at glamping sites, but it could be something that could be introduced. So I'm looking forward to get into all that stuff as well.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I love hostels is particularly good if you're traveling alone, because it's the easiest way to meet people. It's like the most open and friendly environment. Like obviously you'll be sharing a room with strangers oftentimes, and then there's usually a big communal area with like bean bags. They have a ton of tour operators. They give you a really good idea of how to experience the local area, with their tour and their staff. And it's just super easy to meet people. So it's a pretty fun way to travel.
Absolutely, yeah. I've had again had some good times in hostels. Um, we had,
Sometimes they can be horrific.
yeah, oh yeah. Especially like you know, obviously when I've gone, I'm young, and you pick a hostel that kind of is catered to kind of people like me. But yeah, I imagine if you're kind of maybe an older traveller who just wants somewhere to bunk for the night and you pick the wrong hostel, then you could be in for a disaster. But I do think Howzit are kind of they're not quite party hostels. They are more for people heading to Hawaii on these kind of tourist trips. Yeah, we'll hear it all from Nathan.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, here's Nathan. Well, Nathan, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Aloha. How are you guys?
Aloha.
Aloha.
Good to have you on. We appreciate you coming on and giving us some insights into the hospitality world from the hostel perspective, which is not something we've really talked about on the show, but we're excited to bring in that perspective. So thanks for being here. I guess maybe we could just start with introduction to Howzit Hostels, what your business looks like, and any awards you've recently won.
Yeah. So if we back up 5 years ago, I did not know what a hostel was. So for any of the audience out there that's like, what are we talking about? I can completely relate. And part of that story, I think, has really helped us shape hospitality within our hostel business, of really knowing nothing about what a hostel was. And so our journey really started with as real estate investors, and being passionate about life and experiences and hospitality out here in the Hawaiian Islands. My business partner and I had a background from long-term rentals to ground-up developments to short-term rentals and hospitality. But we really wanted to do something big, so we were gonna go out on this journey of creating a portfolio of apartment buildings. Doesn't sound very fun. Now, looking back, it really doesn't sound like very fun, because we're having a blast doing what we're doing. But the first apartment building that we went to look at, in the comments, the real estate agent said, "Oh, sorry, this thing just went under contract today." But in the comments, it said, "Previously being run as a hostel." And we were like, huh? And we asked the question, well, what is it? By the way, what did this mean? It was previously being run as a hostel. And the real estate agent was smart. He picked up on our curiosity, and he started inundating us with the hostel industry and how the United States was really, really behind as far as the rest of the globe, as far as, the industry as a whole. And I was just like, in the beginning, I was like, what the heck? Isn't this hostel this dirty, dingy place that people go to get the cheapest thing, and crazy stuff happens that's I don't know if I want to be involved in. and so but look, as he started educating us, and my business partner had a background in short-term rentals, and we both came out of the hospitality space, we started thinking, well, look, there's an opportunity potentially here where hotels weren't even on our radar, because hotels in the Hawaiian Islands, I don't think a hotel on Maui has sold for under 25 million in the past decade. So we weren't even like, it wasn't even a consideration. We were bootstrapping everything. It was all our own capital. And so, but all of a sudden here was this thought process of, well, wait a minute, is there an opportunity to take commercial real estate where we could, force equity and create additional wealth as we scaled in a big way? Is there this opportunity to do it with this unique area of hospitality, but where the underlying real estate is more approachable and affordable? And so as we dug in, we were like, whoa, this is not just the opportunity for one of these. This is an opportunity to really create a brand and do something big in this space. And so we went all in. But for someone that's not familiar with what a hostel is versus a hotel, the hostel model is simply hospitality accommodations where you're renting by the bed versus by the room. Now, not all of our rooms are dorm beds. Some of you can go and stay in a hostel and stay in your own private room where it's just you. But the theme here is that we bring people together in a much more communal experience. So our whole business model revolves around bringing people together and providing an unbelievable experience that leaves people in awe. And so from design to common areas to leading on a daily basis, experiential group outings where people go and chase waterfalls and snorkel, and they do that instead of on their own. They get to do that in a group setting, and they get to do it together with a guide from our company. Then they come back to the hostel, and now they know each other more, and they've had this camaraderie that they've done this awesome experience jumping waterfalls and whatever it is. And now it switches to the communal space, and now they're shooting pool together, and now they're doing karaoke night. We have stages, and we've got, bars set up for margarita night. And it really is an opportunity for people to come together that are like-minded, that have a passion for life experiences, and are really trying to gain the experience that a certain region has to offer. But instead of doing it solo, they get to do it, and they get to do it together.
You're out in Hawaii. What's the typical kind of guest profile that comes and stays at Howzit?
Well, 50% of our guest profile is international, and then 50% of our guests are from the US. 80% of our guests we're very specific about our avatar in our marketing. 80% of our guests fall between the 10 and 30-year-old age. So that's our avatar.
And when those guests walk into a Howzit hostel, kind of we've said before, that it's more than just kind of sight. It's the 5 different senses, right? So what does a Howzit hostel look like, smell like, feel like to that first time arriving guest?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you walk in, first of all, if you've stayed in hostels before, you're probably going to be pretty pumped because you walk in and you have our common space front and center, which is you've got 12-foot ceilings, and the entire space is decked with local murals. So we went through a design process, and we started with, I think, about 20 local artists. We narrowed it down to 5 finalists and had them do some actual markups, and then we decided on a finalist. And we have these incredible murals that span the entirety. It really looks like you walk in, and people say it all the time. They'll walk in, they'll go, "Whoa, this isn't a hostel. This is like a boutique hotel." And in fact, as we were designing it, and as we were going through our process, people would come in and look at it, and they're like, "You guys aren't hostel guys." And we're like, "Well, yeah, I guess you're right. We didn't know what a hostel was." And that was one of our advantages. We were designing to, our standards versus what is the standard of, the US hostel market. We didn't care. We're like, well, what do we want to be proud of? What do we want to create for people? How do we want to make them feel when they walk in? So that feeling when they walk in is like, whoa, this is sick. And then they go from that to automatically the human connection. I mean, you're going to see, that we're a full staff model. So they're going to get the aloha right off the bat. You walk in and it's like, oh, aloha, can I help you? Can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? Hey, we're with a guest right now, but we'll get you checked in just a second. Hey, you want to get started? Here's an iPad. So there's instant, oh, wow. Not only does it look and seem freaking unbelievable, and it's constantly being cleaned and all of the things that we fought against. Well, what are the stigmas of a hostel? Let's go make sure that we go the opposite direction, and let's let people see that. They're going to see that there's cameras everywhere, so that they're safe and they're secure. And so we really promote this feeling of, wow, this place has killer vibes. We learn things about, you mentioned the five senses, and we're like, okay, we'd walk in the beginning, and as we were growing the business, we'd walk in and the music would be like, wow, why is the music so loud? Like, dude, that's too much. And then we'd walk in the next week and we'd be like, okay, well, man, that music, like that's not the tone that we're trying to set. Like, ooh, that feels. And then we started realizing, okay, we need to have processes in place that systematize, hey, this is the music. This is the level of the music. This is the type of music. And so as time went on, we recognized when we walk in, what do we want to feel like? Let's start to hit those different different senses. But it's going to smell clean. You're going to walk in, and we know that when someone walks in, when they walk in, that's a big part of a difference maker of, well, what would prevent someone from staying in a hostel? It could be that they don't feel like it's a clean, safe environment. So when they walk in and there's cameras, and then they can see the monitors behind the front desk, and they can see all of the spaces from the parking lot to, they're like, oh, wow, we're protected, and wow, it's safe. It looks good and it smells good. And so we really do put a lot of intention into those five senses and what it feels like to walk into our space from the very beginning.
So what is, if you have like a Spotify radio channel, or is this like Jack Johnson, early 2000s, channel, or what are we working with?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we approved it, you could really go to my business partner, Mike, who's really into the details of the processes and what they actually landed on. It's going to have probably more of a Jack Johnson type feel. Yes. And there are channels that are set up, specific channels on Spotify that are approved at a certain volume setting.
And so for those murals you described that have made such a big aesthetic difference, I love the idea. I've got a couple clients that have done it. How much did that cost you guys to do that?
When it was all said and done, probably around 40 grand.
Okay. And was that primarily for the paint supplies and the artist's time, or was there other expenses?
Yeah, I would say that the first part of it was having a consultant that helped us narrow down the search. Then from there was a small fee, may have been about $500 of finalist, that we paid them to do the markup, right? So, or the mock-up. So that, I think that was about $500 a person. So that added some on. And then the rest of it was just a contract that we signed with the actual muralist. And that included everything, all the paint, all that kind of stuff.
Is that just in the common space, or does that go into the rooms or the exterior finishes?
Yeah, so those murals that we paid for, those were done just by the designer. Now, we have other murals within the hostel. We also have murals on our other property that have been done by volunteers or work exchangers that have exchanged us for their stay to provide artwork. So there are other, different parts of the hostel that have different murals, but that were not done by the design team.
I like that because it makes it feel like a living, breathing space, right? If it's got traces of previous guests and things like that in.
Oh, we had in our first year, we had on Thanksgiving, we had an artist that was there, and she painted. They got permission. They're like, can we paint a giving tree? And so they created on one of the walls. They put a tree up, and then everybody they gave out leaves, right? And like they bought these sticky notes that were leaves, and then everybody put on this giving tree what they were grateful for all over. So all of our guests through that Thanksgiving month were like, And we just kept it because it was such a sick idea. We're like, oh, cool. So that tree's still in the hostel.
What a great touch. That definitely creates like the warm fuzzies, and it's a differentiator and community. So that's awesome. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, the typical rates that you're charging, and maybe how your, Howzit Hostels are different from other hostels.
Yeah. So we really looked at standards from a differentiating what's going to differentiate us from everyone else, and that's just started with standards. And when we look at standards are upheld by two things: either a person or a process. People are processes, right? They're the things that make the difference. So we knew in the beginning, I really have a strength with people, and my business partner really has a strength with processes and systems. So that's been a real advantage of ours, is to have a partnership where we have complementary skills and we could build those out. But the first starting point is those standards. I believe that our standards are set above other competitors, which then creates a different experience. So that's a big differentiator. When you stay with us, you can depend on us. You know what you're going to get. We're going to be consistent. We're going to have a team that, from a culture standpoint, that is going to deliver. All of us obsess over the guest experience. It's like culturally from moment one, and that's not always the case. And I think that's one of the biggest difference makers is, okay, you can have a great product, but what about the team that then goes and delivers it? Because they're the ones that create the feeling. And so we've done a really, really, really nice job of having just, our goal in the beginning was become the employer of choice for the hostel industry, and therefore with that alignment, then have the expectation that they're going to deliver to our guests a higher level experience.
How do you become the employer of choice in the area?
Well, first of all, we recognized in the very beginning that the hostel industry is unique. It's different than working in a hotel, right? You're involved with the guest journey when you're in a hostel. You are a part of the environment as that team member, right? So hostel industry people, we had to understand who they were in the beginning. So we started doing things like creating surveys in the very, very beginning, like provide us your feedback, from volunteers and work exchangers to part-time employees to full-time employees. We really wanted to listen. And look, this is how we built our business, was around reviews, listening to reviews. Some people get negative reviews and they become defensive over them. We get a bad review and we're grateful for them, because we're like, okay, here's the opportunity to go shift our business in a way. Look, is there a process that we could get stronger? And why did this person feel way? But the exact same thing happens with employees. And so we recognize that most of the people that are passionate about providing a hostel experience are people that enjoy hostels and they enjoy travel. So one of the first things that we did is we're like, all right, well, let's go give more vacation time than anybody. So as soon as somebody becomes a full-time employee with us, they earn 4 weeks of vacation their first year, right? So that they can go and then live the experience. We want to make sure that they're out there enjoying their life and having the experience. Otherwise, their time with us is going to be very, very short term. And then they can earn up to 8 weeks. So like our area general manager that came out for 30 days to start to build out our activity program, not even as an employee, just to say, hey, can we grow this area of our business? He oversees all of Hawaii, $2.5 million worth of revenue, and he has 8 weeks of vacation a year. So we really noticed that, look, if we can understand who wants to work in this industry and then build our employment benefits around them, then that's going to set us up ultimately to be in alignment with our people.
I love it. I love it. That's very cool. And can you tell us, you've talked a lot about people and processes. How do you find and hire these people? And like, how are you interviewing them? Or like, do you have any methods of interviewing that really distill who the right people are?
Yeah, well, in the very beginning, we knew nothing about hostels. We hired a hostel consultant from Europe to help us with the beginning interview process. But when we went through this, we made the determination that we wanted person first, skills second, right? So that was a big key for us. Like, what is it that this person wants to accomplish, right? What is it that we wanted to create a vision that was large enough that we could take the vision of others and let it fit within what we were doing, right? And so that's a really big component, a component of growth. In the very beginning, we shared with people we're not looking for teammates that just want a job. We're really looking for people that want to contribute, number one, to the growing of this brand, and then want to have both personal and professional growth. So that alignment of being more than just an employee, because look, we're in a cool spot. We're in Hawaii, and anywhere that we go and grow, we're going to be in a cool spot. It doesn't, if we go and grow in San Diego, or if we go and grow in an urban city, they're going to be cool spots that people want to be in, because we're hospitality. We're based on tourism, and so we need more than just someone that wants to work in that location. We want people that want to be a part of something special. So that's a differentiator in what we're looking for in their responses in the beginning. Is are they in alignment with that piece? Because ultimately that's going to be the culture builder. Culture is something that without me in the picture, it's still it still feels the same. If I can remove myself, or if we can remove a leader, if we can remove somebody and it still feels the same, that's because we built a culture that is sustainable. So that's been really important for us in our building and recognition of people. And then obviously second to that is, what skill sets do they have? Even if it's not experience, what skill sets do they bring to the table? Do they bring skill sets where they have a passion for, because getting people in the right seat of the bus is a really critical component, right? Do they have a skill set for organization and detail to things? Or are they someone that's more, hey, I'm a people person and a leader. We want to make sure that we're putting the right type of person with the right type of skills in the right position. And that's, again, between my business partner and I, that has been one of our strengths in building this. And now it really, because we've done that, it builds on its own.
Mm-hmm. And is there like a website that you guys post on for people to find your your job availability and apply, or is it mostly guess? How does that work for you?
Yeah. So look, in the beginning, it was like it was just us that were out there we went through all these different channels from Indeed to our hostel consultant and his network, and different hostel websites, and like all of these different avenues. Because when when we were the hostel that we ended up purchasing and then taking over and rebranding, when people would ask us, well, can we find out what is this? And if they would go and find us and they'd look, whoa, you were the North Shore Hostel? I'm not working there. But as we've really grown, we actually have an unbelievable bench. That's one of our competitive advantages, is that we have a bench of people that want to work for us. So on our website, we have a jobs at, people come all the time through as guests, and they're like, they see our team, they see what we're doing, they see how they're working, and it kind of creates this feeling of, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of that. So if we look at the percentage of people that work for us now that either volunteered or were just guests that came through, it's 100% of our workforce. So 100% of our workforce was a guest or came through, which is, to me, it's just a testament to, again, that culture piece. And then what we do is then we keep we continue to create a relationship. Like, I think that that's to be consistently top of mind. Everybody that ever expresses interest, they go into into our CRM, and then when we just, quarterly, we'll reach out to them and say, hey, here's an update on what's going on. And then when we have an ask, like, all right, we have an assistant manager position on the Big Island available, and then boom, that thing gets filled, and the people already know us, and they've already seen and operated.
50% of your audience is international. Can you tell us a little bit about your marketing and advertising strategy and how people are finding you, or like what that world looks like in your niche?
Yeah, well, we are finding that the power of social media, it's the real deal, without question. Um, and this has been the first year where we've gone all in. What we recognized in the beginning, that was, we had a pretty epic property, and we built a great staff, and we were on Maui. So that enough filled occupancy, like to the 97%. Like what do you need to market for, other than, okay, well, could we drive more ADR? Could we drive, because occupancy we're as occupied as you can be, right? But then when you start having challenges like the Maui wildfires, or these different things occur, or we open our second property where we don't get the traveler volume, you go, oh, whoa, there's an area of our business that we've just, as inexperienced people, didn't recognize. Oh, we just thought it was easy, and then you go, oh crap, how do we do this? And so this has been one of the most fun parts of what we've done recently, is we've aligned with our head of marketing, Brandon, and he has created a influencer program, and we're growing rapidly on social media. And we're starting to find that although social media bookings are difficult to track, what we're finding when we survey the guests when they come through of where they found us, guess where they say? Oh, we saw you on TikTok, or we saw you on Instagram, and it's like, all right, so it is working. It's difficult because as a founder, you're like, okay, well, is it, it's a really difficult thing to track at the end of the day. So, but from there to look, we've done from the creation of our website and the thought behind it, from SEO optimization, from blogs, from all of those things holistically, I think have had a really positive impact on review scores, Google, eliciting significant amounts of reviews at a high amount. Like, all of those things have been a massive intention of us, knowing that that's really, from a marketing standpoint, that's how people are going to find us, and then they're going to look at our reviews. They're going to find us, and then they're going to look at our reviews. So let's attack social media and website. And then we're on all of the OTAs. So let's have great relationships with them. And then at the same time, let's make sure that our reviews, if you knew the focus that went into our reviews, most people are like, oh, wow, that's nuts.
Hello, listeners. This is Sherry Halala, founder of Sage Outdoor Advisory. If you're launching an outdoor hospitality project like glamping, we can help. We offer feasibility studies and appraisals. What that means is we look at your specific market and proposed business offering and complete an in-depth analysis to make sure that your planned business will be profitable. Getting a second opinion on your proposal and forecasted financials is critical to understand before you spend years of your time and hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is particularly important if you are looking to raise money for your project from a bank or private investors. They are going to want to see this type of deep dive analysis from an independent third-party specialist in the industry. We at Sage have completed well over 250 feasibility studies and appraisals in outdoor hospitality in North America in the last 4 years. So we understand what it takes to bring a project from concept to reality. If this sounds like it could be helpful to you, you can go to our website, sageoutdooradvisory.com, and schedule a call with our team. While you're there, check out our proprietary glamping database map too. Thanks. Now back to the show.
Well, tell us a little bit more about that, because we've had Big Noel from Open Sky Glamping on a few times, and he said people who go to his website spend the most time on the reviews page, and you're right, they'll find you and then they'll look at the reviews, see what people say. And imagine that's particularly true in the hostel world, where there can be some negative stereotypes about the ones on the lower end of the spectrum. So what is your process for getting those reviews and then shouting about them?
So as a team, we look at every single review since we started, every single week, every single one never gets missed. In our team meet. So I'll rewind. In the beginning, this is how we built our company. My business partner had read the book Delivering Happiness, which is it was the story of Zappos, from the Zappos CEO. But bottom line, in the entire book, there was this idea of culture and of creating wow moments, right? And we boiled that all down into obsession over the guest journey. And we realized, well, how do you obsess over the guest journey when you really don't know that much about what you're doing? And what we recognized really early was, well, here's how we know what the guest is going through. What are they saying to us? What are they saying about us? And it was in the reviews. So we put this massive emphasis from moment one on, well, what's the guest doing? And then from every one of these, so on our we have a scorecard that we go through every single week with the team. On that scorecard, there's a tab that has each of the sites and each of the reviews that have come in. And then on each of the reviews, we have columns for, was a staff member recognized, was their name recognized, because we want to lift them up and we want to post that. Was this something that was controllable by our team, by person or process? Could we create a better, even if it was something we don't control, like, well, we don't control how many parking spots we have. We don't control, but could we have communicated better about parking? How could we have communicated better? Where could we have communicated better about what the parking situation was, so that guests they knew what to expect and didn't have that? So sometimes a team will say, well, because there's a column that says controllable and then there's a column that says uncontrollable. And basically, we've boiled it down to nobody ever puts anything in the uncontrollable anymore, because they realize we're just going to find a way to say, yes, well, although we can't control that, this is what we could have done, right? And so I think looking at, from a very granular level, from the very beginning, from moment one, what our guests were saying allowed us to say, okay, here's a hole, here's a gap, here's where we need to strengthen our process. And then who's going to strengthen it? Who's going to audit it, right? Because you can have this great idea of, oh, well, this is what they're saying, so let's do this. But then how do you put a system in place that number one, it gets executed at the level that you expect, and then number two, that you're able to audit that it was done? And I would give massive amounts of credit to my business partner, Mike, for really instilling this concept of not just the system, but then the ability to audit the system. And that allows us to operate where now we have the ability to audit everything, but we're only spending, between him and I, about 5 hours a week on the operations of $2.5 million of revenue that our hostels bring in. We're able to spend the rest of that time between the two of us on growing the business and doing things like we're doing right now, having these conversations. We wouldn't be able to do that if we were spending all of our time in the business.
What are the key metrics that you're tracking for the health of your business? I think you've raised money and probably raised equity for your projects, right? Like, how are you?
No, we bootstrapped the entire thing. Yep, we have. This is ours. Now we're at the point right now where, to grow more past where we are, we'll go and syndicate our next property. But up until this point, we've done it all on our own.
So what are you guys keeping an eye on for that?
But yeah, so for those KPIs, so we hired a business coach and implemented throughout our business EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. And we have a weekly meeting where we go through all of the most important KPIs. It's called the scorecard part. And then we have a section that we go from the scorecard to our objectives, our quarterly objectives. Are we on track or off track? But if we look at, well, what are you focusing on? Like, so in the beginning of creating this, we're like, well, what are all the things that really, really matter? And, I could pull it out. In fact, we did one of our podcasts on the Hotel Investor podcast. We provided this as a link in the show notes. So if anybody wants this, like actually look at what our scorecard looks like, you can go and listen to an episode and you can grab that from us. But we track everything from, all right, how many reservations, how much revenue of reservations were made, because that's going to tell us the future. That's going to tell us where we're trending, right? What were the current amount of revenue this week? What's our working capital? How much money did we put into capital reserves? Then we're going to go to review scores. What was our average review score across all review channels? We're going to look at how many reviews did we receive. We're going to go through and we're going to look at how many staff or volunteers came and went, and then how many surveys were collected from them. What is our ranking in different hiring sites like World Packers or different hiring sites? What's our ranking? Let's see. And then we go through some safety and security ones that are really important. Like, I mean, these might sound silly, but we're like, all right, what was the site score and what was the van score? And we have a numbered way where we go and track these things. And then we have our marketing metrics with social media and social media growth.
Nice, all sorts of stuff, and then a lot of the ones you've previously talked about.
Yeah, and then there's tabs behind those, like so for reviews, how many reviews did we get, and then what was the average review score, and then you can go click on a tab below, and it has each site's every review that we've received. So then you can click on that site, and you can go and see every review that was in there, and then it's posted, just like I explained before.
What are the sites? Is it Google reviews, TripAdvisor's, Hostel World, Airbnb? Like, what are you mostly focused on?
Yeah, it's all of them. Hostel World is a big one for us, where we'll actually break down some of Hostel World's, because they break it down into category, and we can look at things like cleanliness in there. And the reason that Hostel World carries so much weight for us is because that is a group of people that they're hostel goers. So sometimes we'll get something on booking.com where this person is they're just looking for the best valued room. They're coming to Maui and they're just like, dude, this is expensive. And then they're like, well, how can I get the best value? So they'll choose us for that. And so maybe we get a lower review because they weren't expecting a hostel. They didn't know that it was going to be they didn't understand what the vibe of a hostel was or whatever. So we really look at Hostel World as, okay, these people are on the Hostel World app. They're hostel people because they have it. And then this is their booking for this. So we really carry weight because they're comparing us to other hostel experiences that they've had. So that one we actually have a specific line for, but we look at all of them. Yes. Google, Airbnb, Hostel World, booking.com, Expedia.
I want to talk about the communal aspect of your hostels, and again, this is something, obviously in the glamping world, there's a lot of the experiences, privacy and seclusion, but a lot of operators want to create that sense of community, at certain parts of their site. Some of it it's a major part of their offering, some of it it's just a smaller part, but I think kind of what you're going to be able to provide a lot of insights on is how to create that communal atmosphere and how to encourage intermingling between guests and that kind of thing. So can you tell us a little bit about the community that you try and create on site and how you go about facilitating that?
Yeah, well, number one, I love this question. And in fact, when we went to the Unique Stays Summit and had a ton of people from your space, this was a very common question. Very curious. I remember, Isaac French came and asked me this almost exactly the way that you just put it. Like there's human nature, we have these contradicting needs, and so one of them is to just have that isolation, but the other one is to connect. Right. And so when we only focus on one, we miss the other, and connection is so powerful in today's world. So how can you go and have this isolated experience with privacy, but at the same time, how can you bring people together and create this extremely fulfilling emotion, which is connection, right? And so yeah, we have put a lot of focus into this. So I'll kind of, from design, right, from the way that the actual hostel flows, from the design process all the way into the way that we interact. But I'll start with some design things. When the first person checks in, when they check in for the first time, they may be a little bit, and I don't know if intimidated, but they're a little bit more in their shell, right? They're like, they walk in, you're a little bit more in your shell, you're kind of checking stuff out, but then you get the aloha from our team, and you're like, okay, I'm warming up a little, and then you go to check in, and you go find your room. We want to make sure from that moment that they start getting invited to everything. Here's our WhatsApp group chat. Look, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are here that are going to want to connect, be in the know, connect with our WhatsApp group chat for guests so that they can connect with each other. And people will then start putting in there, hey, headed to the beach at whatever. And hey, we're going to do this. Hey, are you guys going to do? So that's number one. Number two, a big piece is having our daily experiences offsite. And we create signups for it, and the guests sign up and they go and look, they came maybe by themselves or maybe with one other person, but now all of a sudden we got a group of 15. And then a lot of times if people have their own car, they'll go and get other people. Sometimes we'll have like a caravan. We'll have our 15-person passenger van, plus we'll have 2 or 3 cars. And imagine now you're going out as a group and you're experiencing something new. You're going and seeing these awe-inspiring waterfalls. You go and you do a little cliff jump at Black Rock, and you jump into the ocean from a 20-foot cliff, and you're like, that was, people are scared, and then they do it, and other people are like doing backflips, and they're, they create this whole feeling of, oh my gosh, we went and did this together. So by the time they get back, now we have these people that have had an experience together that came in maybe feeling a little bit in their shell, didn't really know what to expect. And we kind of made them break out by having an experience together. What happens then is now they're like, okay, it's nighttime. What do you guys want to do? And then we have on-site activities. So they'll do karaoke, or they'll shoot pool together. Now they'll go around town together. They'll go and do these things. But remember, people are coming and going. So as this creation happens, they start creating this community culture now on their own. And it's like, okay, now people know each other. Now people see that people are having fun as individuals, but together, and it gives them confidence to then want to join. From a design aspect, we make everybody come through the common space in everything that they do. So in the beginning, there's a side door that it actually used to be the main door, but you could actually go out this side door, and people would just, if you leave them to their own human nature, that's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, all right, I'm going to skip people. I'm going to go out the side door and just get to where I want to go. But we force them to have to walk through, have our staff, hey, so-and-so, good morning. Hey, how you doing? What's your plan for the day? And then someone else, oh, you're doing that. Oh, I think they're doing that. And, hey, have you met so-and-so? And so we actually are making people come through this common space. Secondly, things like our kitchen. Our kitchen's beautiful. It's bad. It's awesome. It's designed really well. However, we designed it with the concept of how can we make people interact within this space? Instead of just creating this massive space where people can just do their own thing, let's make sure that we shrink it down a little bit in these areas. Let's make sure when they're getting coffee that they're getting coffee together in this central space. We do things like, all right, let's start every day with pancakes. So we have somebody making pancakes for all of our guests for free, and everybody gets together and they have pancakes. And our seating, instead of having individual seating, we have beautiful long, they're high-end picnic tables for all intents and purposes, right? But look, then people have to sit together and break bread together and conversations start. The way that our couches are set up to actually set up and to look to each other. Our swinging chairs might seem like, okay, well, that's an individual thing, but no, they're actually faced so that they're faced towards the couches so that people can have a conversation. So really everything from the design process is really designed around that concept of, okay, let's bring people together and allow them to communicate.
Hello, friends. We've got a special opportunity for our listeners as we continue to grow and professionalize the podcast. We wanted to offer to our listeners a chance to use one of these ad spaces, kind of like a billboard, a chance to market your services to our audience. And we'd much prefer this to be folks who are in the space or have a service in the space or have an operation so that it's relevant for everybody and we can continue to help each other. So we wanted to give this this chance to our listeners first. And if you are interested in doing an ad read in one of our episodes and getting some leads through this long form content, you can reach out to contact@glampatech.com and we can have a conversation about it. Thanks. Back to the show.
I have to ask, you're obviously bringing a lot of young people together, showing them a good time. Are there any Howzit marriages or Howzit babies that you're responsible for? Or?
I am really, really, really proud to announce that we have our first Howzit baby. And when I mean our first Howzit baby, I mean of our team, of our staff. So Zach, who I talked to you about before, he's the most important person in our operations. He started as a 30-day come out. At worst, you've got a 30-day adventure on Maui. At best, you become an employee and help us, grow this company. And he sure has. But actually, he fell in love with one of our guests. And they wanted to work for us, and we're like, no, they can't work for us. They can't be an employee. That doesn't work. But anyway, so she ended up getting a job here on Maui, and 2 years later, now they have welcomed into the world their daughter. So we actually have a Howzit. But yes, there are, no joke, this is where real life happens. So relationships are constantly built here. I could not tell you how many relationships are built coming through, and then they end up in marriage. Get a postcard saying, hey, just wanted to let you know we met here 2 years ago. We just got married. It's the real deal.
I love what you were describing about the guest journey and these. It seems like throughout the guest experience and the guest journey, you have these really like gentle but forced moments of them breaking the ice socially that you've really engineered in that are very subtle but quite impactful. And reflecting on my own experiences at hostel, it all rings true to some experiences that I've had, and it's fascinating about like you take them through lead them to their room through the communal space and introduce them to people and tell them. And it's exactly what you said, where people's first instinct is most likely going to be to shy away from those, but just like that 1% effort to like break the ice, and then all of a sudden it's changed their entire experience. And it's a really good thing for anyone thinking about the layout of their space and their experience to keep in mind. I guess a question for you, if you could imagine yourself as a glamping operator, sometimes it might be a little different in the sense that perhaps the demographic, isn't age 10 to 30, or maybe there's, more mature folks. And, maybe traditionally the experience is more isolated, or like getting out in nature, where hostels are typically more urban. I guess putting yourself in the shoes of a glamping operator, like what would you incorporate that might be the same, and what might be different?
So look, first of all, I think that activity is where it starts, right? It's easier to get people that have aligned interest to want to go and do something that they're interested in, and then organically, because that's what happens, right? People sign up for the activities and they're doing it because selfishly they want that experience because it's something that's cool, right? And then, but by doing that and doing it in a group setting, then what organically happens is, oh, we do this activity together. And that's where now the natural and organic conversations start to happen, and all of that. So I really think that that's where the key is to start. What's the freaking name of the beanbags?
Cornhole. I was literally just thinking about that.
Yeah, but just think about what I like to do. Look, if I'm going to a graduation party. Like, I was a high school football coach, get invited to graduation parties all the time, and I'm kind of uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the coach. Like, what am I doing? But where would I always notice that I would gravitate to going? I would always go to the cornhole because it was like, okay, I could do something, right? There was something that I could do. And then in doing it, having fun, now we're laughing, we're poking each other. Now relationships start to get built. I'm more comfortable. People are coming and going from that. So, I mean, like a cornhole tournament. Like, hey, we start cornhole at this time. What do kids love? S'mores. Right? Okay, I mean, those are the things that, like, you go and look at generally what are people going to want to do that their kids are going to want to do. And now all of a sudden the parents get chatting and the kids are cooking s'mores, and it's like, all right, it's wiener, it's wiener roast and s'more time at 6:00. Come enjoy, blah, blah, blah. And I think that it's how can you find these moments where you can bring people together, and then organically from there, the interactions occur. But it has to start with something, because you're not going to have as small of a space where you really can facilitate, right? So it's going to have to be, to me, it's more based on, all right, bring people together because there's something that they want to do.
Also, I think that's the right balance, particularly for glamping and those kind of more secluded stays, is that you give people the option, right? If they want to stay in the unit, or if they want to just look at the stars themselves, then they can do that. But if you have something going on at, as you said, 6 p.m. we're doing s'mores around the fire, you give people that choice, and then it's that entryway into creating those relationships. So I think that's the exact way to do it.
Yeah, but like what you just said, like, let's talk about looking at the stars. Well, what if you created a deck that had 6 telescopes, right? And you're like, all right, here's what's happening while you're here. If you want to, we're going to offer this as a group, stargazing, whatever. And we have 6 telescopes that, you can use to blah, blah, blah. And then people come down, then they come together. And then afterwards there's a fire. People are it unites people in the activity, and then there's a follow-up to it with a fire or something that okay, well, that's where conversation happens. Oh, you guys are from there? Oh my gosh, are you guys you gonna hang out for the fire? Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. And what are they gonna leave with? Because this is a part that I think is most important. I think that people leave with the remembrance of the experience, but as much the people that they met. They're like, oh my, and then they create these friendships, and then this is where word of mouth occurs, and this is where posts get made, like, oh, we met so and so, and now connections are made, and now all the algorithm. It's like, so I really believe that it starts with how can you find things that people want to do together. Well, we went to Onera, which is for the unique stays, and look, these are isolated units, right? They're very isolated in the way that you feel when you're in one of these, sky glass tubes, or when you're in one of the, I had one of the wild grass covered homes, and I mean the views looking out. So I could be completely isolated there, but where did I want to go? I wanted to go to the pool. The pool was positioned so epically with the best views. But then what happens at the pool? When you're in the pool, what do you start to do? Then you start to connect. People want to go to a pool. So if you can find these things that people want to do without you forcing them to do them, but provide them the roadmap of when it is, whatever that is, that's where you find this combination. And then that's where people, I think, create the relationships, and then those relationships last and get talked about. It elevates people's experience.
Amazing. Before we go on to future plans, Connor, you got any more questions on the experience, or ready to go?
I think I'm good.
Cool. Okay, so what does the future hold for Howzit?
Yeah, growth. That's, now we really spent this past year of really dialing in our infrastructure. Really preparing ourselves to understand financial viability of our business, because in the beginning, this was all theoretical, and we just felt like we were on something and we went all in. But look, there's a lot of area within the market for our growth of our Howzit brand. With that being said, I will also say that we're passionate about hospitality. Okay, if you look at hostels, there is a very I wouldn't say small demographic, but a specific demographic, right? I mean, 80% of our guests are going to be 20 to 30 years old, right? So you've got this window. Well, that not everybody fits in that, but hospitality is a feeling and an experience that we know that we want to deliver. And whether that's through that journey that someone's in, or whether it's through glamping or a micro resort, or whether it's through a boutique hotel, there is a massive amount of opportunity that's being created, because what we're seeing right now, the world has never seen right now. We've never seen a transfer of wealth that's occurring with the silver tsunami or the baby boomers retiring, where there's a lot of people that of that demographic that have, more mom and pop style, that have had some sort of asset that they have, whether it's a hostel or whether it's a hotel, and they're wanting to move on with their life. And that provides the opportunity for, I think, independents like us that look at things, differently, that can take advantage of technology, that can take advantage of social media and marketing, and it's providing opportunity. So although we're going to continue to grow Howzit Hostels, all in, and now we have it totally dialed and know specifically what we're looking for to go and grow, and we'll go and syndicate and provide opportunities for others to we've made a lot of money, and now it's time for us to continue that, but make other people money as well. But we're also excited to expand into some of these other experiential opportunities.
Are you guys restricted to like more urban areas and like tourism destinations, or are you guys? I mean, would a hostel ever work in a remote area?
Okay, so it depends on what hostel model. So what we did through this process is we've defined, okay, who do we want to be and where would we want to expand? And our biggest thing, first and foremost, especially when we involve other people's money, is being unbelievable stewards of that capital. And so what we've done is we've said, okay, with other people's money, we want to look at how do we optimize returns? Right? So what business model can we bring to the table that we know unequivocally will optimize? And that starts with, we have a revenue number. So it's like, okay, to run our full staff model, which gives us a competitive advantage in the experience that we provide, we need a certain amount of revenue. So the only time that, if you looked at a remote type place, the only time that would make sense for us is if the ADRs were high enough to where we were able to have the revenue to provide a full staff. So that's the difference. And so that has to either come from a high ADR and occupancy, or it has to come from volume of travelers. So urban high demand destinations and urban centers that are high demand tourist destinations, they check all the boxes. So, that's going to be more often where we're gonna target, and the remote type place, that would have to be a pretty unique opportunity for us to say that's going to fit our model. But for other people, so that's our model. For other people, especially people that have passion for like, hey, I'm going to work in the business. Like I want to run a hostel. Like we have people that, we help mentor that's what they want to do, right? They want to run the hostel. They're passionate about hostels and they want to go run them, and they get to be a key person within the business. That's where the remote model works.
And Nathan, you're a fellow podcaster, so do you want to tell us a little bit, or tell the listeners about your podcast and maybe why they should consider listening?
Well, yeah, if someone has passion for hospitality, what we've identified, number one, we are not experts compared to someone else, right? We're just a couple of steps ahead in our journey than some people. So everybody's on this journey in different phases. They're either just getting started, they've done it, they're scaling, they've already scaled. So our whole goal with the Hotel Investor Playbook is to go, okay, if someone wants to invest in hospitality assets, there's really these four fundamental components that you'll find in all aspects in any one of the hospitality asset classes, whether it's glamping or whether it's hostels or boutique hotels or branded hotels. And there's these four pillars that we focus on. We've recognized that acquisitions is number one, right? To acquire a property. What does it take to acquire a hospitality asset? What are all the things? So we want to have experts on or dive into that ourselves on how do you best acquire hospitality assets. Number two, funding. How do you fund these, right? Like these different asset classes. Look, when I have people that I have discussions with in the glamping world, that's a consistent conversation is okay. And it's, look, things are moving forward, but that's a piece that you got to understand. Like, okay, cool. Well, we've got this property that we were able to acquire. We got it under contract, but how the heck are we going to fund it, right? So that's a really big component. And then you have, now we've done this. Now we've bought it. We own this hospitality asset. How do we go and operate it? Like people are, that's scary to people if they haven't done it, or if they are doing it, how can we operate it better? Where can we go in? And look, we find that you don't have to be an expert in some of these places. Sometimes you can hire an expert or you can partner with an expert. How can you go navigate going into the hospitality investing world if you don't have experience or if you do have experience? So we really want to focus on operations, and then lastly, marketing. Right? That's a big component in today's world is how do we go and stay ahead of the game as far as marketing goes, not just for our hospitality assets, but also for ourselves and our personal branding. If we're interested in growing, and if we're interested in having and finding ways to go and gain capital and all of those things. So our podcast focuses on insight into those four pillars of hospitality. And I think that it makes sense no matter what asset class you're in within hospitality, that we try to bring on valuable guests and that can provide insight in those four areas.
That was an amazing introduction to your podcast, but I don't think you gave the name.
The Hotel Investor Playbook.
There you go. We will obviously...
We keep it simple, the Hotel Investor Playbook.
We'll put the links in the description, so if anyone wants to go and check it out, then go.
Yeah, thanks.
Is there some South African influence to the business? I know your name is Howzit, which is something that, as I understand it, it's a South African term.
There's two places. There's two places where Howzit is a greeting. One is South Africa, but it's the most common local greeting in Hawaii.
I didn't know that.
So if you grew up here, if you're Hawaiian, if you are local, that's, you don't say, hey, how's it going? You say, oh, how's it? Hey, how's it? A little shaka and a little how's it? And that name to us means more than just the greeting of how's it. But what that says is when you do that, when you're like, how's it? It instantly says, hey, we're connected, we're aligned, we're rooted. And that's what we're really promoting for our guest experience, is that connection and that, hey, there's alignment within all of us.
I like the name. It's obviously it means something, but also it's easy to say. You don't have to worry about how to pronounce it. So I always think that's the first kind of test that the name has to pass. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Nick, you got anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Nathan.
Well, Nathan, this is such a pleasure. I'm really glad we did this, and I took a lot of great things away. Everything from structuring the customer journey and breaking the ice, creating community, taking care of human needs like security and community, and even just like how surgical and intentional you get with your reviews. And it seems like you really approach this business with a lot of heart, but also brains. And that definitely seems to come through. I'm actually going to be in Maui in about a month for a bachelor party to go kite. So I'll try to swing by if I'm in the area.
Heck yeah. To kite surf? Oh, you'll be right in our, that was my home surf break, 30 years ago when I moved over here was Kite Beach is right down from Kanaha. Kanaha, they kite out of Kanaha too, but yeah, that's like close to my heart, man.
Are you in Maui? Is that where you're based?
Yeah, I'm on Maui.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll shoot you an email after and see if we can rendezvous for a beer or something.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
do you guys have one in Oahu or in Honolulu?
No, we are on right now. We are on Maui, and we are in the
Okay,
Big Island.
cool. Amazing. Well, Nathan, it's been such a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a blast talking story.